I want to take a moment to remind our viewers that you've heard of UROC as a name, but perhaps didn't know very much about it. Dr. Irma McLaurin is the executive director of the project, and she's here to share with us all there is to know about UROC and what changes the greater North Minneapolis community might realize as a result of UROC being involved. And important, what's also important is the connection between the community and the University of Minnesota to make all of this work. I hope I've said it correctly. So when you do the research, will the research focus on the children, or will you do any research as far as adults are concerned?
Well, I think it varies. There are different programs in there. So, for example, the Area Health Education Center, which is going to be an urban AHEC, that is being sponsored. That is going to be supported by our academic health center. They already have a program in rural areas that tries to get youth, high school youth, involved and interested in health occupations. So they have them come onto the campus and visit. They have lectures. They have them maybe shadow someone who works, let's say, as an, in a particular area. Let's say that person is a radiation or technician. Their goal is to do the same thing, is to try and encourage youth who are in North Minneapolis and other metro areas to be interested, because healthcare and the health business is very big in Minneapolis, and so the possibilities of employment are very good, and they will help them become interested, identify for them what are the educational requirements that you need. So that's one example where that would focus on youth. On the other hand, there's a program by the Center on Early Education Development. They have a 500 under 5 program, and that is targeting families with children who are under the age of 5. And that program is designed to even earlier than kindergarten, to try and close the achievement gap. So they will be working with families and parents to say, these are the things that you can do to better prepare your child so that when they do enter school, they are ready to excel.
Question I should have asked you earlier. At one time, the community was rather vocal in a negative sense. How did you get past that?
Well, I think what we've done is to demonstrate that we're in it for the long haul, that we plan to build a sustainable program, and that we are not going to run away because there are critiques or criticisms, and that we need to, one, help the community understand whether or not some of the criticisms are legitimate. When people start talking about the Tuskegee program, that really is not the kind of research that's going to be going on in UROC. That was a clinical trial that was actually done by the federal government. It wasn't done by a university, and in fact it was university researchers and scholars who exposed it often. So I think we really need to understand what kinds of research. Much of the research that is going on in UROC is what one would call evidence-based. That is, studies have already been done, and now it's to see if we can do different kinds of treatment or interventions or different kinds of projects that will really make a difference. So for example, the kinds of strategies that they're doing with the families, if they do it that way, is that really going to help those children be more successful? And they will work with families over time and be able to demonstrate that, yes, it makes a difference. Now, the hope is that once we can prove that, we might then be able to go to educators in the state and say, if you do these kinds of things, you will have a better success rate than if you do it the way you've been doing it. So part of this research is also designed to make a difference in policy.
Now, I believe you mentioned that there are similar projects In other places in Minnesota, did you say?
Well, in some cases, yes. So, for example, the Area Health Education Center, which is going to be in UROC, already has projects that are going on across the state in rural areas.
Yeah.
But this is the first one in an urban area.
I was about to ask you what is unique about UROC?
Is that it's right in the city. Because as a land grant institution, the land grants were designed to really address the needs of farmers, the agricultural community, and then subsequently the forestry community. And at that time, cities were not, that's where most of the people were. They were on farms, they were in rural areas. Now the population is moving more into the city, or what was once a rural area is now becoming suburban and more cosmopolitan. And there are particular problems and concerns and challenges, as well as opportunities, that you find in an urban area. We've never concentrated on that. Different faculty and different programs have been working. For example, the School of Dentistry has always had residents who go and help and provide training both for their student services to the community. What we're trying to do with UROC is to court that.
You have some solid connections with the community. How did you go about selecting the people who are leading the efforts in the community?
Well, we didn't select them; they selected themselves.
How did that process work?
Well, we started, and that's a very good question. We actually started with community partners. We started with organizations, because that's one way to begin to reach. So we worked with the Urban League, the Coalition of Black Churches, the Phyllis Wheatley Center, North Point Health and Wellness Center. Those are some of the places that we went to and said, this is what we'd like to do. Will you work with us? Will you support us? They then have their own constituency that they can communicate to. We also went to the neighborhood councils. The Northside Residents Redevelopment Council, NERC, is also a member of, is one of our partners. And then we went to the city and the county as well. So this is not just university and community, but it's university, community, city, and county. And one of our goals is to expand that. We have an initial group that was very instrumental in the formation, but we're not saying that's all there is. We actually are trying to look at how we can now expand that partnership.
That's interesting. Do you have any plans for connecting physically with North Point?
Yes, North Point is in the process of not renovating. They're actually going to tear down one of the older building that's on their property, and they're building a multi-million-dollar complex that will be state-of-the-art. One of the people who is going to be in UROC, Dr. Dante Cicchetti, who's a world-renowned child psychologist and works on developmental and mental health issues. He actually was in some ways the catalyst for this whole project being started, because it was in recruiting him that the university, one, encountered some of the opposition in the community, but at the same time also came to recognize that there were broader issues. He is going to be, he's going to start out in UROC with the training of staff, psychiatrists, psychologists, and different kinds of people. And then he's going to be moving into the renovated UROC North Point facility. The university will be leasing space for them in order for him to develop the child and family clinic.
I was about to say to you is that it sounds like you have a facility that could have something to offer the entire family.
Absolutely. Absolutely.